A flying shadow, stalking through the night. Silent as the wind, with eyes shining bright. Always craving blood, lightning running through its fur. When it swoops down on its prey, all becomes a blur.
What is good, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, and today, guys, we're going to be taking a quick little look, a glimpse, if you will, a tiny little peek into what is the Tobi Kadachi, it is the monster, but nevertheless, Tobi Kadachi. It got his wings in the 5th generation of Monster Hunter, the 5th generation being the game that came out literally before the one that we're playing right today, and it's a little thunder lizard dog thing. Kind of weird to say, but it's a very, very cool, very fun fight. If anything, I'm really glad this monster came out because it gives us a nice little warm-up fight before we get to fight monsters like Nargacuga, whom of which is 100% in this game because Nargacuga is very Eastern inspired. This is an Eastern inspired game. I'm not spoiling anything. Nargacuga's in this game. Bam. It's a nice little warm-up before him because he essentially moves. I'm not saying the exact same way, but the speed in which he actually does a lot of things, the mobility that it has, the things that can get actually done is very akin to that of the Nargacuga in the way in which it can be done. So, with that said, if you fight this guy, you might want to fight him a couple times, not just to fight him for the sake of fighting and maybe getting armor and stuff, but to prepare yourself to fight a monster who is a lot like it, but a little bit stronger. So, pleasantries out the way, what can my man do? Let's take a look. So first and foremost, I will say this now, he isn't very healthy. He's not a very healthy monster. He is only a tier 2. He's always been a tier 2, but the big thing with him was the ability to move and scuttle in in all directions, actually. He has the ability to, hover, if you will, because he is similar to that of like a flying squirrel, where he can like take the flab underneath his belly and kind of flutter and float and do stuff to you. So you can expect him to do a couple of weird movement things like that, but it's also really, really nice. So with that said, he can move and jump and slide and glide nimbly left, right, and behind you, and trust me, he will try to get behind you. That's his stick. Outside of that, he has a couple of notable attacks. Things to actually really look out for is when he does jump in the air and spread his wings, spread his skin out wide, he will do a tail slam. This tail slam is one of his hardest hitting attacks. You do not want to get hit with it. It hits almost into the like an overhead, so you get out of the way. Just get out of the way when it happens. When he's in his charged state, that's exactly what we're gonna call it. When he's in this particular state, he has a wider variety of moves that's actually available to him. It's where you will see him do the tail slam thing more often than not, and also he will fling scales. We're gonna call them scales. He'll fling urticating hairs. I literally said scales, but we're saying urticating hairs now. He will literally fling these at you. They will be electrically charged as well, so if you get hit with them, they will stick to the ground, but if you run into them, you will get hit with the electrical damage as well. So watch out for it. He does have tail slams that's very akin to that of the Nargacuga, where he will just dry do it. Like, he'll just do it. He'll just do like a quick backflip and you just slam his tail down. Or front flip. He'll flip. There you go. He'll flip and slam his tail down. It's kind of tricky to dodge because it comes out so quick, but if you're nice, if you're quick and you're on the draw, you should be able to actually spot this out. Other than that, the other things he can really do is just mostly jump and hop and skip around. Like, he doesn't hit too hard, he just moves a lot. If anything, this is definitely one of the monsters that if you've never really played this game before or fought quick and fast monsters before, this is probably the best one to fight before you really think to yourself, I kind of have this type of monster archetype down, because it's a very, very good introduction to it. Barioth is a fast monster, but he doesn't actually work in the same regard anymore, due in part to him being nerfed, and he lost a lot of that. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to be like quick to call home on the fact that monsters who act like this are really cool, because I can understand it. They're not the coolest, no, that's not the coolest, they're not the more fun monsters to fight. However, Tobi Kadachi does keep it quite fun when you do fight him, because everything he does doesn't seem broken. It's not like it's broken stuff, not like he's just ridiculous, you know what I mean? Everything seems very fair. Like, he's quick, Okay, he's small. Makes sense. He doesn't have a lot of health. Okay, makes sense. He hits pretty hard when he's charged up. Great. He has a extra state, and once he's in the extra state, he does more damage. Everything just makes sense. It's all fair. So just take your time. Seriously, just take your time. Let him do things. Walk around him. A lot of his attacks are very linear, so you can actually just move slightly out the way. He does have some horizontal space attacks where he has a quick tail spin that it does cover a lot of area, but other than that, everything else is pretty linear. So if you have a quick, I genuinely suggest a fast moving weapon or something that hits very, very hard when it comes to fighting him, because of his mobility that I spoke about like 1,000 times over. But all that aside, he isn't ridiculous. Like I said, he's not really all that ridiculous. All his notable moves we spoke on: the tail flip, the tail slam, him flying in the sky as like a flying squirrel. When he's charged up, he does the tail slam and the tail spins more often. He can shoot out urticating hairs, so that way it allows him to give a bit more space options, forcing you to stay away and things like that. There's a couple of moves I'm probably missing, but truth be told, guys, you'll be fine. So let's talk about the gear. Okay, so when it comes to the Tobi Kadachi armor, it's actually pretty solid. It gives you Jump Master, Crit I 2, Constitution 2, Thunder Attack 2. So the most of these attacks skills we already talked about: Thunder Attack, flat amount to Thunder, Constitution, reduces fixed stamina depletion by 20%, blocking, evading, I think running, all those other things, you know. Crit I increases the infinity, and Jump Master is the new one. So Jump Master, you know when you do a jumping attack, and you can get hit in that, or let's say, something happens, like whenever you go to, have you ever tried to jump off a ledge and get stopped because something hit you? This prevents that. It's not really useful. This actually proccing is going to be something that almost never happens, so forget it. This skill doesn't exist, honestly, to be very fair. We're looking at these three, and they're not bad all on their own. So the armor set is, it's okay, I guess. It's not great. You get affinity, you get constitution, you get thunder attack. It's very straightforward. It's not the greatest, but it gets the job done. But let's talk about the weapons. Now, the weapons is actually pretty solid. They give about 100 to attack, about a good 12 to about 20, depending on the weapon type, to the thunder element. Pretty sizable amount of green sharpness. And I think they all give plus to affinity as well. So you get an affinity boost on the weapons, you get affinity on the armor. Pretty solid thunder. It should replace some Kezu weapons if you have them, or if you don't have any thunder because Kezu didn't have a thunder weapon for you. This might give you that tiny niche that you will probably need. For example, there is no thunder lances until this guy showed up, so I was happy to actually have one, honestly. So yeah, the gear is actually okay. I wouldn't give it a miss. I'd definitely pick up the weapons for sure. The armor though, I don't know. Constitution 2 is kind of fun, and Critical Eye is always nice, but you could probably find better things from Crit Eye. But it gets the job done, especially if you're going to be fighting something that's susceptible to Thunder. You do have Thunder Attack. It gives it that. So, I mean, it's decent for what it's worth. It reminds me of Acnosom, but just a tad worse, because we're getting to the point where we need armors to be a little bit more than just a one-note thing, where it has a bit more affinity and a little more element. All in all, I give like a 6 or 7. Not terrible. Get the weapons though, for sure. Okay, so long story short, with the Tobi Kadachi, the rule of thumb is to make it not move. Alright, so do what you can to make it not move, because again, it does like to go behind you. So if you have traps, do that. Pitfall traps work very, very well. You don't want it to charge up though. You don't want to get it in a shock trap. So I did learn that if you use, what are they called, like the mud beetles, the things that allow you to flick the monster with water blight, it'll make it to where himself can actually charge. So that's actually really good. So do what you can to make him not go anywhere, immobilize him if you can, and then just beat the heck out of him. What's his weak spot? Weak spot is the tail. His weak spot is his tail. So if you do damage to the tail, you will verily cut it off more often than not. But do it with, actually, can you cut his tail? I don't think you cut his tail. I never tried. Probably not. Probably can't cut his tail. Even if you can, whatever, hit him in the tail. That's where the weak spot is. And bring water when you do it. I think water is his, I'm pretty sure water is his #1 weakness. I'm doing all this off the top of my head because Tobi Kadachi is a monster I hadn't fought too often myself. But pretty sure it's water. Yes, because I then use his weapons to actually fight Anjin at the time after that. Okay, so yeah, bring the water to fight him. Hit him in the tail. You get him in the head as well. It's also a fairly decent spot. Use traps if you can. Watch out for his charge state to make him not go charge. Afflict him with water blight. I think they're mud beetles. That's what they're called. The little ones who's you've seen the little blight beetles that are rolling around. Use a mud beetle. I'm pretty sure it's mud beetle. Hit him with that. Afflict him with water blight. He can't charge up. If he's not charged up, he can't do crazy stuff. So yeah, think about that. But as I said, everyone, it's been your boy Dak908, aka the Digger himself. Discord, Twitter, of course. I don't feel like chilling. I'm actually having a really bad day today, so I'm just gonna wrap it up right here. Take care. It's been your boy.